one by one the gods die. And because Monkey and Garcia Saturn did not keep his pact with the devil, it transforms in what it should have been a long time ago. One skeleton Garling Figureland becomes him, the new god of scientific defense, leaving his place as captain of the divines. To his potential son, hidden brothers of Shanks LaRue, having made them immortal for 800 years, we finally have confirmation. Kimu Eli of the celestial dragons and is able to, on the other side of the world, remove it from eternal life in seconds, leaving only a pile of bones. And all this has been planned for a long time. But earlier, the most powerful character of all One is able to himself, to win all those who want to take over the One. Then that's the question. How will Luffy defeat IMU? It just seems impossible today. Write in comment of this video your scenario, and we will come back to see here in several years. Was right at the beginning of the end. The chessboard is in place, and the final war is waiting for you. Then subscribe to the channel. And you are ready. Let's enter the war for peace. The war for freedom. The war for the One. That's it. The damage has been done. Finally by evil. I hear the definition when we'll draw the winners. Because that's why sometimes it is better to keep what we think for yourself. So on the ruins of Agst, the best assets of government celebrate their victory, the tight point and the closed look. As if those who had dressed in black of white wanted to show us that in the end, reality is too often made of gray. Indeed, you have all witnessed the heartbreaking scene between you and the clone in the chapter 1019. If the tool lands, I will not be able to destroy it, declared the giraffe, the grimacing face of grief. Not surprising, while 6 chapters later, the leopard of the Sliferpole declares to have killed Stacy. But the off-screen at Etheroda is not an easy task. No, we have all been witnesses of the cognitive dissonance of the agents over the course of the arc. Sadness, regret, and even questioning. Could it be, while the author hides the survival of the vampire clone from us? In one final twist, the tool would have confronted its old and would have let it go, definitively signing his arc of redemption. And incidentally, the freedom of Stacy. Must say that in 1-1 waifu, it doesn't fade that easily. Stacy, please. Stay with us again, but that's if the leopard didn't decide to crash his teeth in the vampire's neck, to remind him that in the jungle, it's often an eye for an eye. Oh, what I am in particular, then perhaps the most legal of you will have it. And Terada really don't like. But then not at all kill these characters. While the extremist survival of the elite allowed him to be the last spark of the Vegapunk flame. Now that finally, not only 1, 2, 3, but 4. Well, in fact, most of the satellites have survived. Yes, receptacle of the brain of Vegapunk. Satellites are above all one armor, in which one part of the story comes to life. As long as Punk record exists, Vegapunk too. So not suitable for them to recover one replacement body in the lab Ba Oda. The only body available is York's. Weird when talking about the wolf. The greed of Vegapunk understands that now. It's 5:1 indeed. The words of the scientist, who said they had to ensure, protect cloud cooling, finally make sense, and Ed flies away and has never carried his name so well. With its new cloud, the Punk record has literally been saved. In the cloud, realizing our very first theory about the Degid Bao, Punk Records, written as one canvas of knowledge by Vegapunk, will later become the net for the rest of the world. And Terada justifies himself through the dialogue bubbles of its characters. Stella sacrificed herself publicly, which leaves us free to navigate freely in the sky. The will of the author is then very clear. Egg Help is today, disembodied of his figure of the greatest scientist of all time. Egg Help belongs to everyone. Because only this knowledge persists, because again in the bubbles, it is reminded that the waves, Punk Records can go anywhere on Earth. It's official. Your gloves in the air like the 5G, everyone can connect to it, and Etaroda achieved the impossible. He created the internet in one. The most important now resides in the sequence of events. As if by chance, we talked about you in the chapter 1 Milcent being due. The very close link between Wizeria technology and that of the Masters, the giant robot. Here is a simple knot, can in fact keep in it one devastating power. One small knot can contain one gust of wind. Then that of a giant robot could well possess. We have seen it, the greatest achievement in history. Again as if by chance, internet will make one stop on one other celestial island. That of the professor stop of as the island of Wizeria. In order to realize, I quote, of new inventions. So we think very honestly, yes, that this is where the Vegapunk is, will improve the Windows Ertis note. To make one node capable of containing learning. And that they will use it to create the future robot and put robot savior of humanity, the dream of Vegapunk. This same robot that, you know, our crazy bus theory, will return to the past to save the Mugiwara, making Vegapunk through time the biggest brain than history has never known. It is well known, in this world the only gods that exist are those that present themselves as such. Then as his shoe was surprised in the chapter, it was difficult to imagine that hell can be in heaven, is on top of the world where evil is more powerful than ever, can act without being recognized. After all, the greatest cunning of the devil is to make it look like there is no. And if the devil is known, it is for one thing. SES packs one very powerful narrative tool, used everywhere in popular culture. Sell his soul or integrity for power, of wealth and especially of youth. Yes, with this Milcent Vincinki chapter, we have confirmation that the 5 old stars are linked to Imo Neurona by impact, allowing them to communicate with each other, to invoke yourself anywhere, and especially not to get old. This pact must be concretized through the knowledge or fruits of the Owl Demon. Explaining why, during the explosion of Joy Boy's achievements, deceased deans since Marie Joy's were all immediately eliminated in the authority room, because at that time, all powers have been cancelled. On Egg Island, Sanji already noticed the change of look at Saturn. And because the Zoan have their own will, it would be possible that this will be controlled by Imu, looking through their eyes and making Colossus. It would then be very interesting to have in the antagonist one ultimate, the fruit of the original demon, Nomi Hakuma, the devil's fruit, allowing to control others via pacts. Faustines, in other words, in exchange for power of wealth and youth. The ram belongs to him, and the devil can dispose of it as he wishes. Because Monkey and Garcia, Saturn did not keep its share of the market and let Joy Boy get away. His link with Imo has therefore been broken. not by making it age, but by giving it back its shape that he was supposed to have for years. One pile of bones, because remember 38 years ago about Godvali, the Dean already had the same face. We see that he is on this earth for far too long. This actionate refers directly to the lyrics of Moon, who says Luffy to the chapter 1045, who said with laughter that after death, only our bones remain of us. It's one secret for nobody, Luffy is not afraid of death. Like all the carriers of the Sen, when she introduces herself to him, he is not afraid and smiles at her, because he knows it, after his death, there will always be men ready to give one meaning to the word freedom. Only for celestial dragons, it's the opposite. They are used to opulence and are afraid of death. They are even afraid of it, and do not hesitate to make a pact with the devil, never to meet her. As the author asks us the question in the title of this 1025 chapter, each has his own vision of what death constitutes, and the opposition between the will of the DEA and the gods, as natural enemies of each other, is perhaps done in the end, in the most important thing in the world, the smile. And let's say it if it's a fair result. It remains no less rare in one, that the antagonists are punished by death. Doflamingo Audi Splendum Tool and Nerve Proof. All garbage with one oversized ego. That have hurt many people, but who today are still alive only. It's been a long time since Monkey and Garcia Saturn were no longer supposed to be alive like this. Nothing better for the one who thought he was God, Witch of Hearts, like one insect, the one who until now has disposed of human life as he saw fit, and pathetic, powerless, imploring for his lousy existence. Because never forget, pride tries to always fall. And I might as well tell you that from the top of the world, it could only be brutal. By creating the dynamic between these main characters, around the metaphor of the solar system, we quickly understand that the future of the world lies on old stars. Of the planets, the Earth, its moon, and especially the sun. But we quickly forget that it exists in space, regions where the gravity is so strong that nothing can escape. Anomalies that no one can predict. One singularity that aspires to everything. The black hole of Saturn has disappeared, and Ichiroda has not finished drawing it, for it has already been sucked into darkness. Remember, on a mission for Blackbeard on Egg Island, Katarina must be able to touch the Dean, and thanks to its demon fruit of Kyubi no Kinsuna, can now take its name. Like all that surrounds the powers of the Colossae, is unknown to both the Navy and the government. It would not be surprising if Marshal Dietich, on learning of the death of the Dean, to believe in his resurrection, and thus uses his authority to open the doors of Marie Joyce and take over the entire planet. For as Vanagar said, their goal is neither more nor less than the world. So if Saturn has disappeared, now the moon revolves around the Earth. The Five Darlings Figurelands, champion of God Valley, becomes the new military god of scientific defense. One extremely important transfer of power, that proves to be one, chooses its stars from the nobles of Marie-Joise. And two, then from now on, College of the Divines will probably be occupied by Frank, the mysterious swordsman of the chapter. Himself a potential member of the Figureland family, is therefore linked to Shanks the Euro. But there is one big problem, because certainly the charisma of Darling, his way of expressing himself, and his authority, natural towards his new colleagues, it's great, but it raises one important question. Does he too? Won't he have to make a pact with the devil? Does the divine? Won't it have to be done again at Dubbit? Indeed, he is not supposed to be immortal. We saw him in Godvali 38 years ago. He was young and what? Then he is not going to be offered the powers of demon fruit, mythological Zoan type yokai. and also immortality in exchange for his soul. The Crescent Moon said he received one order of owl. And in view of the surprise of the other deans, it is not supposed to be aware of the existence of the devil, so he must then still meet him. And the timing is perfect, because you are not without knowing that IMU will start next week. Unveil for the very first time his voice in the animated adaptation. And Jiroda could therefore have calculated everything and take advantage of it to reveal the true identity of his character in the next chapter, during a handover ceremony. As with Nefertari, says Cobra for the voice, it would now be through Carling that we would discover the identity and appearance of IMU, starting next week. Marie, I see one daughter-in-law. We automatically watched Kiru. Def and Minnie betrayed my calves. The fight the world will sink under the ocean, that's it. The announcement of Vegas as one of the last judgment risks creating conflicts across all long line territories to control the heights and ensure its survival. That's why, as Sabo and Ivan Coffey remind us, for 800 years, the government has reached the top of the world. And even built Tequila Wolf. Good gigantic, which allows to create one real Asian country. Because yes, the genie announced nothing less than the apocalypse. And the people will not remain with their arms crossed, which will upset Geos again. As Durgan and Gerling affirms, it's a race against time, before the world self-destructs out of fear. So the revolution has no choice. After 27 years of preparation, it finally acts. Indeed, Marie-Joise is in a state of, after destroying his food supply, after triggering revolutions in 12 countries, by preventing ships carrying the celestial tax to reach Redline, the revolutionaries make the celestial dragon discover something that he had never felt before. The end. I have them blonde, who until then had never experienced annoyance, will have one self-destructive behavior. Because they don't have enough on their plate, that they will kill the one who feeds them. Yet first world power. And Tyroda shows us that Marie-Joise is finally quite fragile, and destroys itself. Because what is beautiful is that the different ideologies represented by the government, the revolution, the navy and piracy, give a new political dimension to the work. Replacement, betrayal, plot, discussion, execution. We are on good fat. Game of Thrones and the characters themselves ask questions. Questions about the nature of government and the powers of IMU. Ivan Coffey, in the chapter Milkotter was already talking about the operation of the youths, from Open to Penemy, to explain, and the youth of Nerona. And before you die, Cobra said to Hoof, to tell Vivi that she wears the set in her name. It seems logical that to conduct the investigation and learn the truth about their enemies, the Revolutionary Army looks at one unique case. The only person in this world that carries the will of the D and is able to conduct the rejuvenation operation. Yes, you got it. It is very much possible. Only for the one whose piracy is over decides to keep his heartfelt promise by joining the revolution, to reverse those who leave twice, killed his family in this way. Get ready to meet one revolutionary like no other, named Trafalgar, called Waterloo.